Sweet. Okay. So just introducing Tony Cline here. Tony Cline, I'll let him tell a little bit more about himself, but Tony and I met several years ago because I'm sorry, I gotta tell how I met. I knew of Tony because I knew that he was like a property manager guru. He's a coach and owned a business and was building a business, and now he's full-time coach. He sold his business. And about 5 years ago, when Property Management NARPM National Conference was in Phoenix, they had their first annual 5K race. And at the time, I was really getting into running, and I lined up next to Tony at the start line. And Tony says this to me. He said, give me any race, let me choose the race distance, and I'll outlast anyone here. I was like, ooh, that's fighting words. And so, because I'd already started getting into ultras at the time, and so I thought, all right, let's go, game on. He doesn't know who I am. So I started a little bit, like chiding him a little bit, and Tony had DNF'd, means did not finish. He DNF'd at the Bear 100, and maybe he'll tell us a little bit about Bear 100, which was an ultra marathon race, 100-mile race, lots of climbing up mountains, down mountains. Usually takes like 2 days or more to finish the Bear 100. He DNF'd it, and I thought, man, this guy's over his skis. He thinks he's better than he is, and so anyway, I won that 5K race. But Tony made it clear that if he could choose a race distance, he could outbeat anybody. So Tony, I started up a friendship at that time. We've stayed in touch over the years. Actually, Tony and I have done some podcasting this year, and those are going to start dropping. So, and we called it, what do we call it?
The Property Management Aid Station.
The Property Management Aid Station. And the idea is you're on an, you know what this is, you're on an ultra run. Every 5 to 7 miles, there's an aid station. So it's like you're out there running, you're doing your thing, and occasionally you come in, you get a little nourishment, and that's what Tony and I wanted to give back to the industry a bit. And so I asked Tony to share, to join us today in connection with our rally cry for Mark Robert Properties. We wanted to introduce this. I want to ask my good friend Tony to share a story with us, and that story has to do with this picture. So I'm going to put the picture up there so you can see it. Sorry, Trevor, let me share my screen. I'm going to share the screen, and you're going to see, if I don't know if I can do this, but here we go. There's Tony in a Barbie box. So I wanted Tony to tell us a story about this. Go ahead, Tony. Take it away.
Okay. So a couple of things real quick. Tell me the rally cry again, because I've got another client that's very similar, and I want to make sure I get it right.
Yeah. But before that, I have to tell the rest of the story of how we met. I was snarky with Tony. Tony said, I'm going to run the Bear 100, then I'm going to run the Wasatch 250, then I'm going to run this all in 1 year. It was like, or Triple Crown. He did 3 200+ mile races in 1 year. Crazy. And I said, there's no way you're going to do this. If you do it, my head will explode, and I'll kiss your feet next time I see you. And then you did it.
Still owe me. You still owe me.
Perhaps a new photo.
Yeah.
So our rally cry, Tony, is this is what we came for. Go ahead.
There you go. Okay. So I'm going to go back and tell a little bit of a different version of how Mark and I met, because he was all pumped up, ready to go and win this 5K. And I knew he was going to be faster than me. And so the conversation we had was, in order to kind of stay at that competitive level with him, and we were just kind of, giving each other a little bit of a rough time. I said, well, I don't really care how fast you are. I said, I can beat anybody out here as long as I get to pick the distance. And the reason I said that was I had learned some things over the years, and he mentioned that I DNF'd at the Bear 100. And I want to start with that briefly, and then I'll jump to this picture. It was the first time I was going to run 100 miles, and I thought that I was physically prepared, and I probably was. I had rolled my ankle a couple weeks before, but I had an ankle brace, and I was going to go out. But I met up with a guy on the trail just by chance, and we ran about 20 miles together, and the rain started coming down, and it started blowing sideways. The wind was blowing. It was dark. It was about 2 or 3 in the morning. They call that the witching hour, which is just a really hard time to to keep your mind right and run. And the guy I was running with wound up, we're coming down a hill, and he winds up slipping and falls backwards and hits his head on a root that crosses the trail. And looking back at it, you know, just knowing stuff happens in a race, and I know he was looking for a reason to quit. And so when we got to the next aid station, he was able to go into, they had a medical trailer, which was just like a little tow behind, you know, camper trailer. But he got to go in there while he was getting checked out. And I decided I'd stop and wait for him and wait on the side of the trail. And I was huddled around this tiny little like propane ring fire that was more for decoration, I think, than heat. And I sat there, and after about 15 minutes, I'm really cold, thinking about, I'm 68 miles in, you know, I've got 100 miles total that I have to go. And he comes out of that trailer and he tells me, yeah, I'm going to quit. I'm not going to keep going. And in that moment, it defined me, because I said, you know what, I'm going to quit too. And, you know, 2 hours later, after taking a nap, I woke up and I'm like, that was the dumbest thing. I had time left. I had time, I had energy, but in a weak moment, I decided to quit. And so that stuck with me for the whole year. And I think that's when I met Mark and I was talking to him about all these races I had coming up. But every training run I went on for that next year was about being mentally prepared to not quit when it got tough. And when it gets tough out on the trail, you have to fight through, and you have to know that there are going to be difficulties. That's just part of the journey. And so flash forward to this picture. So Mark had mentioned that I ran the Triple Crown of 200s, which is 3 200-mile races spaced out from the start of the first race to the end of the last race. It's spaced out over about 2.5 months. So I ran the Tahoe 200, and then 17 days later, I lined up for the Bigfoot 200, and that's where this picture was taken. And the Bigfoot 200 is the hardest race of the three. And then after the Bigfoot, I was supposed to go and run the Moab 240, and that's 240 miles. So 654 miles of racing total over this contest, and they give you a combined time, and whatever your combined time is for the three races, whoever signs up for that, you wind up being the winner if you have the fastest time. So anyway, coming back to the Bigfoot 200, it's got 96,000 feet of elevation change over 200 miles. So you're basically always going up and thinking when it gets to the downhill, it's going to be easier, but then the downhills aren't that runnable. And so this here was at about mile 102, 103. So I'm halfway there. I still have as far to go as what I had just come through. I came through the aid station. It's dark. This is about an hour and a half later, so the sun had started to come up. But I come through and I take a nap, and I lay in the back of our crew van, and I think, if I could just take a little nap, I can keep going. Because one of the things I've learned is, in these races, in these 200-mile races, there's typically about 4 times in the race that I want to quit. And so now, instead of quitting and giving in, I dig deep, and, you know, like you guys say, this is what you came for. I start looking at, okay, I know this is going to happen. And I say the race doesn't start until the wheels fall off, and they fall off for everybody. So if you can keep your wits about you when things are falling apart, that's actually where you make the most progress and have the most advantage, because people around you start to cave from that pressure. So I took that mentality into this sleep, and I think I'm going to wake up and finish the last 100 miles. And I wake up and I'm just drained, and it's not unlike what we go through in the middle of leasing season, in the early spring and summer. Like, it's just a lot of work. And I wake up and I just can't even think. I don't want to go back out. And it was about having good people around me. So this is Scott in here, and he's joking around at one of the aid stations. It's super remote, and they happen to build this Barbie box out there for a photo shoot, just to kind of keep people like, give you something to laugh about while you're out there basically putting yourself through torture. And, I got up and I said, I'm not done. I'm only halfway through the middle race, which is only halfway through the Triple Crown. And having good people around me, having a good support system, having people that shared the vision of what we were trying to accomplish, knew what our goals were and knew what it was going to take to get there to the end. Scott also does these long runs. And in that moment where I'm questioning, do I have what it takes to keep going? I had good people around me, and I had that mindset of, it's just going to get done, right? And this is what we came for, digging deep, where knowing that things can sometimes get tough, but I talk a lot about building championship teams, and this is where the championship teams are made. When things get tough and you get through it, and once you get through something like this, just like I did with the Bear 100, the second year I ran it after I DNF'd, I still had the feelings of my feet hurt, I'm nauseated, whatever, but I knew I could get through it if I just kept going. Until you stop or you run out of time, you're going to finish. And so, this was Scott giving me a boost when I needed it. It was me deciding to get back out on the trail and keep going when it was tough. And so, long story short, I finished the Bigfoot 200. I have one more race to go. I have the Moab 240, and that's another journey, another story for another time. But I finished that race, and when they combined my time for the 3 races, I wound up finishing in the top 10. And the reason I bring that up is not necessarily to brag, even though it's something I'm very proud of. It was a group effort that got us there. And I wouldn't have been able to see what I'm capable of. I wouldn't have been able to know this is something that I can do because I didn't quit. There was about 38% of the people that started the Triple Crown DNF'd one of the races. And it's a major investment of capital. It's a major investment of time. And some of those people quit. And I think the difference between me and them was I knew that sometimes things get rough. And when they get rough, that's when I excel, because I stay above getting sucked down into the negative emotions. It doesn't mean I don't feel those things. It's just I recognize, I kind of step outside of my body and say, okay, this is one of those moments that I planned for. This is one of those training runs that I went and ran 2 hours in the pouring rain or in the really hot heat or with a head cold or stomach or whatever. When things get bad, I'm like, this is good training, and I've already trained for it. So now I can excel. So Mark, I don't know if that hit the nail on the head for you, but
I did. Thank you, Tony. And I just wanted to point out, like you've already eloquently stated, you had a moment in Big Bear where you let the difficulty and the darkness and the trial and the pain lead you to a defining moment in your life. And that defining moment, like you said, was giving up. And the last time I heard you tell this story about what happened right before you climbed into this Mattel box was that you were grumpy, you were snarky with your support team, you were very negative, you were very tired, and you were in one of those moments when it's so difficult, and of course your thinking was compromised and your body was compromised, but the pervasive negative thoughts were coming in. And at that point, you had another defining moment in your life, which was, no, I'm not gonna quit. I am not going to quit. And you told me one time that one of your favorite sayings, I think maybe from one of your coaches, is it never always gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
And if we dare to believe that even though the task ahead is insurmountable, if we dare to believe that we can keep moving forward, it almost always gets better. And on the other side of that trial is the growth, is the transformation. And that transformation is what we came for. And it can only be achieved by going through that crucible experience.
Yep. And to add just a little bit of context to what you said about me being grumpy, you're right. My brain was just so shot and I was so tired that when I woke up from that nap thinking I was going to just be feeling really good, and I didn't. I felt a little bit better, but I still felt miserable. I had a good enough relationship with my crew and the other people on my team that when I sat up in the back of the van and they start peppering me with questions, what kind of food or calories do you want in the front of the pack? Do you need any in the back? Which pair of shoes do you want? Are you going to put on the long socks or the short socks? Are you going to fill your bladder with electrolyte drink or just water? They're asking me all these questions, which normally I'd be able to just pop off the answers, but I couldn't think. And I just said, I don't know. I don't know. And then they asked me one more question. I don't even know what it was. And I said, you know what? I'm done. And I didn't mean I'm done with the race, but I just meant I'm done. I need help. I need support from my team. And when I said that, Scott and Brandon stopped asking me questions. They jumped into action. They made decisions on what I needed in my pack. They got me the socks I needed to put on. They just knew. And so, you know, it's digging deep on your own, but it's also crucial that you guys come together as a team. And we came together as a team and we're able to get each other through the rough times. And that's one of the things I love about all of the teams I'm involved with. I talk about building a championship team. Would this happen, or would this be tolerated on a championship team? And if the answer is no, then we shouldn't be doing it here. And luckily and skillfully, we've built championship teams in many aspects of my life where we're able to rely on each other. Even though I was grumpy, they didn't take it personally. They knew I was in a low moment and they stepped in and took care of me until I was able to get back on my feet and get out there and take back over doing what I needed to do.
Tony, that is so amazing. I'm going to immediately start talking about our rally cry. This is what we came for. It's probably going to be another 5 to 10 minutes. Do you want to hang out, or do you
Sure.
want to... Okay.
Yeah, I'll hang for a few, and then when you're ready to bump me, you can just kick me off.
Okay. So, so let me pull this up here. I've always been inspired by Tony. I'm so super grateful that he joined us today and that he was able to share this experience with us, because it really highlights something that's really important, which is why we're here and what we're doing here. And I was telling Vince a couple weeks ago that one of my favorite sayings in ultra running is, "This is what we came for." And it's something that some ultra runners tell themselves when they're deep in the pain cave, in the witching hour at 2 to 3 in the morning, when there's a lot of miles left to go and you're not thinking right and things are really rough, and you think, and I've experienced this. I haven't run 200 miles, but I've been in some really long races running really hard for a really long time and felt significant pain. And I thought, and the thoughts very loudly came in, "This is stupid. I'm never running again in my life. What the heck am I doing out here?" Okay. And the first time I experienced that, like Tony, I made my way. I found it. I got to an aid station. I was out of it. I was nauseous. I laid in a medic tent for an hour and 15 minutes telling them over and over and over, "I am done. I am done. Drive me in. This is over. This is stupid. I'm done." And my story is a little different than Tony's, but similar in a way. I had a pacer with me who kept saying, "Mark, get up. I think you're going to regret this tomorrow. Mark, get up. We can do this. Mark, get up. I think you're really going to regret this. I know it's your choice, but get up, get up, get up." It was dark. It was miserable. I was more nauseous than I'd ever been in my life. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't keep any water down. It had been hours before I had anything to drink or eat because I would throw it up, and I was cold. And sorry if I get emotional, but my pacer got a text from our coach. We had the same coach, and that text said, "Tell Mark to get up and walk it in." And I thought, I don't trust anybody right now, but my coach knows what he's talking about. And I'm gonna like grab hold of that. Even though I feel like just sitting up, I'm gonna start throwing up, even though I have nothing in my stomach. And I sat up, and then a few seconds, like a minute or two later, I stood up. And then a minute or two later, I wrapped the space blanket that I've been sleeping under around my body, and I started trudging out of that tent with probably the most miserable look on my face that I've ever had in my life. And I just started shuffling into the dark night. And there wasn't another aid station for 7 miles. And I thought I was going to be in the fetal position on the side of the trail somewhere. But I just put one foot. We have another saying in ultra running, you put one foot in front of the other, and that's what I started doing. And I won't tell you the whole story. I'll tell you the rest of that story some other time. How about that? Cliffhanger. But this is what we came for, okay? As we embark on our journey through 2025, I want to introduce a powerful phrase that will serve as our rallying cry. This is what we came for. This simple yet profound statement encapsulates the essence of our mission and the transformative journey we're on together at Mark Brower Properties. Life, much like an ultra marathon, is a test of endurance, resilience, and character. In the world of ultra running, athletes often find themselves in what they call the pain cave, a point when the challenge seems insurmountable, negative thoughts threaten to derail their progress. It's in these moments that the phrase, "This is what we came for," becomes a powerful mantra. Similarly, in our professional lives, we will face challenges that push us to our limits. There will be times when the task at hand seems overwhelming, when doubt creeps in, or when it's tempting to take the easy way out. But remember, this is what we came for. We didn't join Mark Brower Properties for an easy ride. We came here to grow, to challenge ourselves, to make a meaningful impact, and become the best versions of ourselves. We came here to create value for our clients, to build up lasting relationships, and to transform the real estate industry. When we say this is what we came for, we're reminding ourselves that the journey, with all its ups and downs, is the point. We're here to embrace challenges as opportunities, push beyond our comfort zones, support and uplift each other through difficult times, celebrate victories, leave a lasting positive impact on our industry and community. Remember, we're trading the best hours of our days and the best days of our lives to work together. This isn't about closing deals or managing properties. It's about personal transformation. If you don't, I'm trying to hold it together. If you don't leave Mark Brower Properties fundamentally changed for the better, stronger, more capable, and more aware of your potential, then I have failed you. We haven't fulfilled our mission. So as we face the challenges and opportunities of 2025, let's keep this rallying cry close to our hearts. When things get tough, when we're in our own pain cave, let's remind each other this is what we came for. We're here to grow, make a difference, and become the strongest versions of ourselves. Together, we'll turn challenges into triumphs, setbacks into comebacks, and ordinary moments into extraordinary memories. This is our journey and transformation. This is indeed what we came for. So appreciate you, Tony, and I just wanted to leave those thoughts with everybody. Go ahead, Vince. And Vince, the great creative guy that he is.
Got ourselves some shirts.
Yay! Oh, yes.
Show Tony. Scoot
Very
in.
nice. Very nice.
That's really cool.
Good job, guys.
Okay,
Excited to see what you put together and what you accomplished this year.
you'll see us throughout the nation soon, Tony.
For sure.
All right. See you.
See you,
Take care.
everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.